everything paranormal. Para X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Merry meet and merry part, bright the cheeks and warm the heart. For tread the circle thrice about, to keep unwelcome spirits out. Bide within the law you must, in perfect love and perfect trust. Mind the threefold laws you should, 3 times bad and 3 times good. These 8 words the read fulfill, and ye harm none, do what ye will.
Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron on the Para X Radio Network. And now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And merry meet everybody, and welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Tonight my guest is Mary Colvin, and we'll be talking about her new book, The Herbalist's Guide. Now, Mary's a dedicated clinical herbalist and rural herbal practitioner. She's an author, a formulator, an educator, speaker, mentor. We keep going, and I'll be over at the end of the show. But she founded the Ancestral Herbology LLC, located in Wakeman, Ohio, and it values the philosophy of healing the way nature intended. She has dedicated her time in helping her clients and in guiding students on their journey with herbalism, and wants to continue to inspire a new generation of herbalists to provide education and mentorship in the study of herbalism with the safe practice of using herbs as medicine. She's also the host of Herbology Talk, the podcast, and the host of the Training in Herbalism series on TikTok. Now, chat room, you guys know you're welcome to show your comments, and you can also ask questions. And if you're not listening, well, if you are listening live and you're not in the chat room, you can come join us at paraxradionetwork.com. Okay, Mary, you're welcome to say hello and join us.
Well, hello, and thank you for having me.
Oh, this is a good book. I mean, I keep saying that, but honest to God, I mean it. Some people will say, well, yeah, it's a good book. But no, this is good. And there's just so much that we're going to not be able to get through tonight, but we're going to try hard to do.
There's a lot of information in there.
It's amazingly informative. It's really, really good. But, I always like backstories. So tell us about when you began an interest in herbology.
Well, I would say that I've been connected to plants all my life. I've been a gardener all my life, and I went to college for floral design and marketing at the Ohio State University Agricultural Technical Institute. I originally wanted to be like a horticulturist or a botanist, but finances kept me from doing that. And I got married, had started having children, and then I had my own health situation. And I followed everything that the doctors wanted me to do and the insurance. But I had extreme back pain, and I had the sciatica pain to go along with it. So it was really hard to walk or sit. Had the MRI done, and it showed that I had a herniated disc in the L4, L5, and degenerative disc also. So they wanted to schedule a laminectomy. And I was only 36 years old at that time. And so I thought I was kind of young for having this to happen, but went in, had the laminectomy, and the sciatica pain improved. And then, I would say 3 days into it, I had a sharp pain again. I had to go back into surgery because the doctor left a piece of the bone in there.
Ouch.
And that was, oh gosh, I was so scared. I was like, I got to go back again and start the healing again.
Yeah.
But I did it, and I would say it was probably after the 8-week healing time, I would take steps, and I was still in pain, but it was a different pain. It wasn't the same as the sciatica that I had going on. And so I went to a pain specialist, and they told me that it was the fascia that when they cut into me for that surgery, and they've been finding out that fascia has more nerve endings, and they said that I would be in pain the rest of my life. And at 36, I just didn't want to accept that. And I told them I didn't want their medicine. I didn't want their injections anymore. And I walked out of the office. And I thought to myself, what did I just do? What am I going to do? But it was like intuition, deep-seated knowledge was there. And I knew that I had to start learning herbalism. But in Ohio, I really didn't know too many people around here. There's definitely not a school here. And of course, this was back before a lot of the online schools where, we definitely have a lot more online schools now. So 15 years ago, there really wasn't that many. And I found the School of Natural Healing. And what I liked about that is you could purchase one class at a time. And that's what I was able to do with a young family and our finances. So I did. I just started taking one class at a time, and it was almost a deja vu. It was like I knew I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. This was the direction I had to go in. And then in one of the classes, we had to do like formulations, and I made formulas for myself because I was still getting some really bad spasming in the back, and I made my own muscle rub. And then I wanted to repair the fascia itself. So I created an ointment and a tincture that I'd take internally and an ointment I put on externally that would repair cartilage and repair connective tissue. And those herbs are called cell proliferants. So I did that, and I started feeling better. And today I'm not in pain every day like I was. And I can, if I overdo it, yeah, I'll feel it. But for the most part, no, I've been able to live my life fully.
Wow. And, you said that in your training in herbalism, it's been an exciting journey of learning old traditions, and you're still learning all the time. And if we go back far enough, way back when, almost everybody was an herbologist because there wasn't any medicine or anything like that. It was just a way of life. And, all of a sudden, it went away. And it's a shame because, a lot of medicine is not, you have to take it, but it's not good for you either.
And it wasn't even that long ago because my grandfather, when he was still alive, when I first started learning herbalism, he was so excited that I was learning it. And he was from, his family's from Sicily, but they grew up on a farm where they had their garlic, they had their cayenne, they had their lima beans, and he says there was medicine in your food, and they didn't have a lot of doctors around. You still had to take care of yourself, and this is back in the 1920s to the 1940s. So, it wasn't even that very long ago, but he was very excited that I was learning it.
Well, so what is ancestral herbology? Just doing the old ways, or, yeah?
It is. It's kind of using the knowledge from ancestors from, our own cultures and just using that knowledge to heal ourselves. And it's more mind, body, spirit, because it's not just physical ailments. It's not just the physical that's causing problems with disease or with, with what we have going on in our situations. Sometimes it's trauma, sometimes it's stress, sometimes, there's emotional aspects to it. So it's all connected. So and the ancestors knew that. And so that's why I wanted to call it ancestral herbology.
Yeah. And to them, if they knew what we're doing now and thinking that we're rediscovering it, they would be rolling in their graves. It's like,
probably.
Why didn't you just stick with us? Why did you have to go up the other way? Now, there's, you think of herbalism, but there are many categories of herbalism. Can you tell us a few?
Yeah, so there's aromatherapy. A lot of people, when they hear that I'm an herbalist, they start talking about essential oils. And,
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of companies that sell essential oils, and they're using them medicinal wise, and a lot like herbalism, but it's really not the same. So in my book, I talk about what essential oils are and what the differences are with a whole herb, because the essential oil is just the volatile oils, and you have to distill them to get those volatile oils. And you also have to use such a large amount of plant material to distill it, and just to get a small 1 ounce bottle of those essential oils. So aromatherapy is just that, using the aroma
Mm-hmm.
to heal and to relax. And there's a lot of benefits to it there. You can also use essential oils in your salves or ointments as well, or just to breathe them in a diffuser, as aroma. There's some people, and you can take some internally, but it's really best to work with a practitioner if you're going to do that.
Yes.
And especially one that knows interactions with medications and contraindications with conditions, because safety is number one on that. But there's aromatherapy, and there's homeopathy, and so that can sometimes get confused with herbalism as well. And homeopathy just has a different philosophy, because in herbalism, it's all about homeostasis and creating a balance in the body. And in homeopathy, it's like versus like. So if you have, say, an allergy to bee stings, they're going to give you, they're going to sting you with the bee, right? Or give you something that can help you. It's a like versus like, and a like curing like, I should say. And they are very, very minute doses. So they're not really extracted the way that herbs are. And so really there's not a lot of constituents in it. So it's very minute. So you will see some what are considered poisonous plants in some areas, but it's such a minute amount that's used in there, they're not. And so I'm not actually trained in homeopathy. I'm trained in herbalism, but I do know a lot of herbalists that do both. And they will utilize both herbalism and homeopathy. So that's another area that somebody can train in after they learn herbalism.
And we were just talking about food and herbs. But I think a lot of people grow herbs for cooking. And
absolutely.
In kitchen witchery, they're used for spells, like mint and angelica for protection, and bay leaves for intuition and divination, and cinnamon for luck, that kind of thing. So people can cook with them, and it wouldn't be too hard to learn how to make medicines and remedies as well. And
not at all.
The book has all the information anyone would ever need to practice safely and effectively. I mean, it's just, taking one thing and just go a little bit farther with it, and you'd be surprised how things will change, right?
Right. And, I started writing that book about 9 years ago, and, life gets in the way. You're raising your kids, and things get in the way. I didn't get it all done. And then you're looking for the agent and the publisher and that. So it's a long process, but I came up with it because I've had so many people come up to me and ask me, what books do I recommend for someone who wants to learn herbalism? And, at the time, there's just so many books that you have to purchase. And a lot of times people want to study at home. They might not have the finances to go to a school, or they might not have the time, due to their own busy schedule. So they can study at home, but the problem is they have all these books, and there's so much information, and it just feels like you're bombarded with the information, and you don't know what to learn first, and, what steps to take, and if you're doing it correctly. So I really wanted to write a book that it feels like I'm right there beside you, guiding you and giving you advice, but I'm really stepping you through the steps, the basics to start off with. And you're learning, and you will learn one section, and then I give you hands-on training and exercises to actually feel and experiment with these herbs too. So
Yeah,
I just thought it was important to have, it's basically a course at home in herbalism.
Yeah, and you don't have to, worry about grades. You just keep them in your mind.
I'm not
just
grading you.
open the book, and there you are. And the book is divided into 8 parts, and each part has several chapters within there. And there's some beautiful full color photos for identification and stuff. It's a happy book. I don't know.
Thank you.
You think, like you said, you have exercises, then you have Mary's advice, and then you have information retention and suggestions for additional reading and education, and recipes for simple remedies, and a ton of more things like that. So again, in other words, this is a book that's very comprehensive, and I think that's the only book they need to get. I mean, I just can't think of, I don't think anything that's left off. But there are probably some people listening that don't have a green thumb, but they believe that, but you believe that anybody that can be successful in making homemade remedies and medicines. But that brings up the question, if there's no way to grow your own plants, you have the recipes in the book to follow, what is it about, if they get retail herbs, would the outcome make it less effective that they didn't grow?
This is where you have to understand the herbs themselves too. Some of them are better fresh, or others are better dried. So I have a section in the book called Fresh or Dried that will help you understand that. Then there's a section there about supplying yourself, before you get going into the remedies and that. But I give different places that you can get your herbs if you're not growing them yourself, if you're not wildcrafting. Maybe you can get them from an herbalist in the area or a farmer in the area, or maybe you can get them from, the last option would be to buy at like, what do I have, Mountain Rose Herbs, or there's some different companies that you can go with, and there's resources in the back that I have of the book too. But you want to, if you're going to purchase them from a company, you want to make sure, first of all, that they're a sustainable company, and that they know where they're getting their herbs from, and Mountain Rose Herbs definitely does. So it's quite all right just to buy the herbs or get them someplace else. You don't have to grow them yourself. You don't necessarily have to go out there and wildcraft them yourself either. So, and every herbalist is different. There's some people that really want to dive into and connect with the plants and grow them and harvest them and make their own medicine, and that's fine. There's others that just don't really have that interest, and they just want to purchase the herbs, and that's fine too, as long as they are understanding what herbs are at risk and, sustainable wise, and purchase them from those companies that are sustainable, because our populations out there, some of them are getting over harvested, and you want to make sure that they're there for our future generations.
Yeah, and you just have to make sure when you are buying them, just read what's on them. I mean, if you're going to get it in a grocery store, they have the ingredients there, and if it's just not one ingredient, walk away, find another.
Yeah,
thing.
I wouldn't suggest a grocery store to purchase your herbs at, but make sure you go to like a health food store, or you can go to someplace online that's just specifically they work with herbs. And that's probably a better place.
Yeah. So, in my witchy mind, though, I still think that growing our own would be more helpful, or strength. I don't know. I guess it's the intention.
Fresh, some of them are fresh, are more potent, but not necessarily. And, some people just like the connection to the plant and the smell and, their hands in the soil, and they help to raise them. And, that part is important to some herbalists.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's different. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you just mentioned about sourcing. Other than growing herbs or buying them, we should probably get familiar with certain herbs that might be growing in our yard or in the neighborhood. Like, for example, my friends have some weeds growing in their yard, and they said it was pigweed. And they said it was delicious. And I'm going, ew, you're going to eating weeds,
Lamb's quarters, yeah.
yeah, and they're very good. They picked them and we ate them and it was really good. But then there's, on the other hand, all of a sudden, some kinds of weeds was infiltrating some of my plants. And I found out that they were called prickly lettuce or Lactura cereola or something. And one source said that they were toxic, and another one said the young leaves were fine to be eaten. And, they have that milky thing, when you break it off. Okay. So
they had latex. Yeah.
Thank you. See, and I never, I was always told that anything that you plant out there that has that milky latex isn't good for you. So, we have to learn what's safe and what isn't safe. But,
absolutely.
Lots of things, dandelions, for example, probably in an urban area, when people go out or walking their dogs all the time, maybe that's not a good place to get things, at the farm, at the park. But, if you're kind of out somewhere else or something's growing in your backyard or whatever, that's neat. You can dry them, you can chop them, you can do all kinds of things with them. And I don't know, it's like doing it from start to finish, rather than just, whatever. So there is a little bit of learning, about different herbs.
Absolutely.
And also it depends on what they want to use them for. Some people might just want to use things for, like you said, backache or something like that, or somebody has allergies or, whatever. But other people, in the book, there's just so many things to do and to see and to learn. And it's not like a textbook, though. So that's a good thing.
No. Originally I did have quizzes for each one of them because I was like, well, maybe they want to test their knowledge before they move on to the next, section. So what I'm doing is I will add that to my website, and we'll talk about that later on, but I will add those to there. And if you want to for fun, you can.
Okay. Yeah. Make your own question, or, get somebody that's got the other book also. The book also, and, teach each other or, quiz each other.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Flashcards.
Flashcards. Love it. Yeah. But, I do agree with you when you said you really need to 100% correctly identify the plant before you forage for eating or before you use anything for medicine. So I do talk about, if that's something that you want to do, it's probably a good idea to learn some of the basics in botany and keying out some plants too. There are different apps that you can use, but I would not trust those 100%.
I was going to just say that, and I had one that I did a couple of things to test if they knew which was what, because I knew what it was and it wasn't right. But there are some out there, and I got one that does pretty well. It's really comprehensive in what they tell you, and they have the pictures, and so it's probably if you're not really aware, because that's how I learned about the lettucey thing. The prickly lettuce, because it got me all prickly because it was killing all my plants. I don't know what kind of bird or something went in there, but oh my God.
Oh, that's definitely what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you just want to make sure you're 100%, you want to identify it 100% before using it.
Yeah. And again, I agree with you about the applications may be kind of weird, but if you don't have anything else, just give it a shot, just kind of see it. It might help until you get more familiar.
It can point you possibly in the right direction, but that's when you still want to do a little research in other words, don't trust that app 100% either.
No, of course. Yeah. Now, all right. So people are going to say, well, what do we learn? What kind of books do we get? I mean, yours for sure. But I think maybe there's also books out there that just have pictures of herbs, and just not, just
Field
have
guides.
a look.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Field guides are perfect.
Yeah, it makes it easier that way because, some of them don't give you a great bunch of information and they just, well, here's the name, here's the botanical name, finished. And then there's those that tell you how to fix them and, oh, look, you're not healthy. You got to do something about it now. And then really weird things like pouring milk into a pot or something. Seems like a couple of books that I've picked up are doing that, and one of the apps is too. It's like, coffee grounds and stuff. It's interesting. But I guess, your book again, pretty much has everything. And then if people want to get a book that's full of pictures of herbs, although you've got a lot in your book, did you take those pictures?
I took some, and then, I had to turn the manuscript in by June. And by that time, I didn't have all, and, the growing season wasn't done, so I couldn't collect all the pictures. I had a friend of mine that used to be, I was the vice chair when she was the chair of the American Herbalist Guild, and she says, Mary, I've got like 300, photos you're more than welcome to use. So you will see her name in there where her pictures are, and her name is Denise Cusack.
They're very good pictures because, and they're colorful. Sometimes in botanical books they have etches, just little drawings and, okay, you can kind of tell. But these are like really good pictures. Like some of them you want to frame. I like them that well.
Oh, nice.
So,
thanks.
Yeah. So what about tools? What tools could do what they need to get beginning?
Well, I have a list in there in the book of all the tools that you can get. And I do have the ones that you really don't need. It's just more of a luxury thing. I have that in there because if you don't want to use the mortar pestle, and wear your arms out, you can get a blender. But there's a list in the book, and it's really stuff that you might be using as you're making the herbal remedies or the, recipes that I have in the book too. But it's just some of the basics, I think, to have on hand. There's all kinds of different tools that you need, and, talking about jars and, just bowls and, simple things that you need to mix and to go ahead and macerate some of the herbs in.
You were also mentioning how to if you have a plant, how to cut it off, little pieces or whatever without harming the plant. And I know there's little tools to do that, so, just if you pull something off, all right, maybe. But, you want if you don't want to hurt the plant, you need a certain little,
pruners or a knife or some scissors or something like that can help with like taking flowers and leaves off. Knife can be helpful to trim some of the bark off. And there's like a hori knife could be beneficial if you're trying to dig for roots and cut them off. So I have a list of different tools that you can use with an explanation for them.
Yeah, and you don't have to get them all at once. You're only gonna do one or two things in the beginning anyway. To get kind of acquainted of how to do it and get comfortable with it. And is there any malady that herbs cannot take care of?
Well, I'm just gonna say, herbs are not meant to take care of disease. As far as chronic diseases, there is no herb for arthritis. There is no herb for, any other, chronic disease. Any other chronic disease that you might have. Basically, as a clinical herbalist, we look at the individual, and sometimes changing the diet is needed. Sometimes repairing the digestive system along with the herbs is going to be more beneficial.
Mm-hmm. And some are good for just the symptoms. You can't.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that can help a lot. I mean, it's something that I think that we all need to get back to grow. Just when everybody else was doing it, and they weren't living longer, 200 or 300 years ago necessarily, because there were things like antibiotics or whatever. But by the same token, they were pretty healthy people, as long as they were alive for the most part.
And everybody knew how to, the steps to take or what herb to grab, when a fever came or, coughing or, I've raised my children with herbs. When I started learning, they were younger. And, of course, they were my guinea pigs. But, the good news is they didn't have to go to the doctor often. And I even had a doctor drop us as his patients because we didn't go enough. And that's a problem everybody should have, really. But, my daughter told me one time when she was in high school, she was sick. And the next, we gave her teas and had her in the warm bath with diaphoretic herbs, which helped to perspirate, and help you sweat it out. And the next day she went to school. She was feeling great, so she went to school. And her friend said, how come every time you get sick, you are better and come to school the next day? I had the same thing as you, and I was down for like a few days. So I learned early on that herbs are powerful.
Yeah.
And they can benefit. And you don't have to run to the drugstore and grab the over-the-counter drugs. You don't have to necessarily be on medications. I'm not saying that there's no use whatsoever for doctors or, their medications. But everyday things, there's a lot of things that we can do at home and take care of our own selves. And the whole point of my book, too, is to help empower everybody to take care of their own health and that of their own families. And, that's something that I think there needs to be an herbalist in every home.
Yeah, that would be great. We're going to take a quick break, so everybody stay tuned, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
Cauldron will be right back, so don't go away. If you end up with webbed feet, remember, you've been warned.
Demons, vampires, werewolves, skinwalkers, all of this and more, Sunday nights at midnight on the Staring Into the Abyss radio show. Come, get lost with us.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. Covenant House is the national leader providing safe housing for youth, 50 years strong. Every youth who walks into Covenant House gets clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. So, look closer at Covenant House and help us fight youth homelessness. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening in to Stirring the Cauldron. I just wanted to give you a quick heads up if you don't already know about the free weekly Witches Oracle deck readings that I post on my website every Monday. Now let me answer the age-old question before you ask it, which is, well, how do I know it's for me? And the answer is pretty simple. If you weren't meant to see it, you wouldn't know it was there. So if you're curious about what the week has in store for you, pop on over to marlabrooks.com every Monday and scroll down on the homepage, and there it will be.
Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And we're talking to Mary Colvin about her book, Herbalist Guide. There's a question from the chat room, so let me scroll back there really quick. She says, is there an herb for improving tear duct flow to the eyes, like if it's weird to dry the eyes out? Not like a thing that she can't cry, but it just kind of dry eyes, I guess.
So, that just depends. Sometimes it depends on the cause of the dry eyes too, and that's always good to know. But there's herbs that you can use as eye wash, but you don't want the drying herbs if they're already dry. You want moistening herbs, and that's something that you can find. Oh, let me think of some of the ones that might be moistening for you. Eye Bright is one. Now, red raspberry has been used a lot, but that has astringency in it, so that's good for like macular degeneration and such. Then there's herbs that help with conjunctivitis too, that have like antimicrobial actions. But you need to know if the herb is too drying, and that's one that you don't want to do. But Eye Bright comes to my mind right now for that.
Okay. Never heard of Eye Bright. That's kind of neat. Is it common, or does it have a different name?
That's the common name of it.
Okay.
It's one that is not easily found because it is one of the at-risk herbs. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of another one here that would be moistening, maybe possibly using chickweed and just a little bit of chickweed. But when you make an eye wash, you want to make sure you strain it extremely well. And then you also want to sterilize all your eye cups, or sometimes I use shot glasses, to do that. Yeah. So it works. Just make sure you have a towel underneath, because you will catch some, when you tip it back. But just make sure you sterilize the cups too. Mm-hmm. And you want to make sure that you're using a different cup for each eye. You don't want to use the same one and transfer, from one eye to the other.
Very good. You have a chapter on basic understanding of the energetics in herbalism, and I wasn't familiar with that term, and maybe others might not be either, so could you please explain?
Sure. So energetics, it's not about the energy of the plant. It's really about the patterns within the plant. Just a moment ago, I was talking about drying herbs and moistening herbs, but those are the energetics of the plant. And as there's plant energetics and there's human energetics. And if you just go by the four qualities, so that, warming, cooling, drying, and moistening, those can relate to tissue states in a person, and they can also relate to the qualities of the herb. And what you want to do to choose the right herb for the right individual or the condition that they're having is look at the energetics, and you want to use opposites. So like we were talking about, she has dry eyes, we want a moistening herb to balance that condition. So if you are really inflamed and, your cheeks are red and you're just a warm type of person, you go out in the winter without a coat on and, you're just hot and inflamed, you don't want a warming herb, because that's just going to exacerbate or, make the condition worse. You want to balance it with a cooling herb. So in the book, when we're talking about, there's there's 35 herbs in the book that we talk about. There's a section that says energetics, and we also talk about taste. So taste can be the energetics as well, because taste can help you to determine more about that plant. So energetics is just about using patterns and balancing the individual with the herb. I hope that explains it a little better for you.
Okay, yeah, it did. Somebody's asking, suppose I don't have a yard, a balcony, but starting out, can I just get started with a small few pots in the kitchen?
Yes, you can. Grow a mint. Grow basil. Grow one of your kitchen. If you have kitchen herbs in there, you can do herbalism. Just learn about those those herbs and research those herbs.
And just in general, to follow up with that, what's a good bunch of starter plants? I mean, the basics.
Lemon balm is a good one. I love any of the mints. So you're looking at peppermint, or I love chocolate mint. If you've never had that before, that is a really good one. And of course, oregano or basil, those are sage. I mean, any of these have so many benefits and so many medicinal actions. You'd be amazed.
I wouldn't be. Just looking at the book, I'm amazed about a lot of things now. I'm gonna have to really get going. Okay, so if somebody wants to get going and start, talk about setting up your apothecary. Does it have to be a specific place, and what kind of whatever?
Yeah, the apothecary is just your home. It's your medicine cabinet, right? It's whatever space you have available. You just want to make sure that all of your medicine and your herbal preparations are stored in a cool, dark area. You don't want it too hot. You want a nice cool. A lot of times you use like the brown glasses to store your liquids in, or brown jars, or the eyedroppers, with the eyedroppers, they're usually a dark glass, because if sunlight hits them, it can degrade them and, make them less potent. So you just want to make sure about that. You can keep them in a closet, on some different shelves. I've seen people use hutches, just a hutch in the kitchen, as long as you make sure that the glass is covered. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. But the book itself is written so you can prepare your own apothecary at home. So, just follow the steps in there. I have a lot of tips about shelf life and about setting up your apothecary and how to maintain your apothecary as well.
It sounds like, it's really good, but it also sounds like it's fun, in a sense. we have to learn.
I hope so. I hope so.
Experiment with things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the exercises too, is to get your hands in there, because you can read all you want and read a whole bunch of different books about herbalism, but until you actually practice it, until you actually make your herbal preparations, until you actually taste that herb and feel what it does in your body, it's just reading. It's not actually practicing. So, the exercises are extremely important, because that's a learning curve itself.
Just off the top of your head, and I don't know if you can think about it really quickly, but say one of the exercises, pick one, and if you can, and just see how, it's not difficult. Some people are going to go, oh my God, this is, it's difficult, we need this and that. And
well, I just picked up the book. Okay. So I just opened the book to one. I just opened up a page. This is about burdock. So after you read about burdock and how I use it, before you start learning about the herbs, I do direct everybody to learn about research and where to get trusted information. I even have some research guidelines in there to help you. But, under each herb, I put all the information about the herb as far as its taste, its qualities, the parts used, and what kind of medicinal actions it has. And then I give you some of my experience with it. But then at the end, there's an exercise after each one. After burdock, I have in this exercise, you'll use the dried burdock root to make a decoction. So now I'm going to help you learn how to make a decoction. And then you just put 1 ounce of the dried burdock root in a large, in an infuser, and put the lid on in a pan, and fill it with water and place the lid on it. And then you're going to bring the water to a boil and reduce it to a simmer, cover, and continue to simmer for 20 minutes. So in a decoction, that you have to have more heat, because it's usually a harder material, such as the roots or the bark. to extract the medicine. So then you're going to, after that 20 minutes, you're going to take it off the heat and leave it covered while it steeps for another 20 minutes. Then you can remove the infuser or you can strain it. And then I say to take the opportunity here to taste the decoction in small sips at a time and get to know how this herb is acting on your body. Close your eyes and track its progress. And save the rest for additional doses during the day. Record your results in your journal. So I talk about using a journal also. And then I said, you've just added another beneficial herb to your medicine chest. You have that burdock root and you've made a decoction. That's medicine.
Yeah. See, all that good stuff is in there, and it's really, really, really interesting. It really is. Okay, another question. Somebody popped up. Can we do stuff for our animals, our pets?
I do not talk about that in here, but that would come under your own research. When you're researching that herb, because you're going to have, obviously I was only limited in so many words for this book. I actually had 80,000 and they wanted me to cut it down to 65,000. So, there just wasn't enough space. So I really talk about how it's up to you as the reader to take the information I've given you, like the Latin name and the common names, and research more about each herb. And so that's something that you could look up if it's safe for a dog or a cat. I could tell you that cats, it's really difficult because they process things differently in the digestive system. But I've used a lot of different herbs with my own dog. I just don't have that in the book here. And I would not say I am a master at that. I actually refer out to, I have a mentor that is really knowledgeable about animals and herbalism. I wouldn't say that I'm that expert, but I have used them with my dogs.
Yeah, but just, if you want to do it with your animals, just be very, very careful,
Yeah. And understand and research that herb thoroughly. Yes.
Yeah, and some of the plants, but it is possible then. And, it's funny because animals are herbologists because they know what to eat. The cats will go outside with a bad stomach and chew on the grass and then, get rid of it. And birds, they know which things to get. It's too bad we can't ask them, if we're out in the garden.
Absolutely.
Hey, bird, what do I need for this or something?
I was sitting in a class with Matthew Wood one day, and he has the Earthwise Herbals, and I sat with him for a week and learned under him, and he talked about the indigenous, how they watched the animals to see how they interacted with the herbs. And they called it maybe bear medicine or deer medicine because of how the animals actually interacted and when they interacted. So they sat and they watched the animals. And I just thought that was fascinating. So it kind of goes along with what you were saying here. They do know. And, sometimes it's just sitting and watching.
And you just wonder how do they know? They don't have a book. And they don't, they can't tell each other verbally. Maybe the babies see what the mothers are grabbing at or something, but it's inherent in them. And too bad it's not with us.
Smell, and maybe it's the smell or the taste. And because they use smell for a lot. They smell everything before they eat it. So that's a possibility there.
I'm just looking at something in the chat room. Oh, she says my dog, what should I eat out here so I can throw up on the rug?
Isn't that how that is? Well, I'll give you an instance with my dog, though, that I did use an herb. She developed kennel cough because we had to leave, and I will never put my dog in a kennel again. But, I have family or somebody watch him before I do that again. But came home with kennel cough and went to the doctors, and of course they put her on, antibiotics and whatnot, antiviral. I forget what it was that they gave her, but she was coughing so bad and like hacking, and I felt so bad. So I looked it up and I talked to my mentor, and she said, give him red clover. So red clover has been used traditionally for whooping cough. And what is kennel cough? It's kind of the same thing. It's the spasms and the coughing. So I made a tea and I poured it in her water. It took one time of her drinking that water and the cough was gone.
Oh, wow.
It calmed the spasms right that quick. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So just do your research, and make sure. But, yeah, they can be used.
Oh, that's great. We're getting close to end time, so I want you to talk about your contact information and your website and what's on the website and
absolutely,
your podcast and all the rest of that stuff.
So I do have 2 different websites. The first one is Ancestral Herbology, the name of my business, .com, and that is where you could look up the different events I have going on. You can contact me about a consultation. I do have a blog there. It's called Mary's Mark, where I've written up. You might want to learn a little bit more about some things. That the second website is mentioned in the book, and it's herbalistmentor.com. So I actually came up with this one to follow the book, and it's all about training and resources and mentorship. So I do offer mentorship packages. And this could just be, a total of 3 hours that you get to ask me any questions you want. You can call me and talk to me. We can do Zoom, however you'd like to do it. So if you are working with the book and you have questions, you can purchase one of those mentorship packages and, actually get me to sit down with you and answer your questions and help you through some questions and that. Then I have a free membership there that anybody can join. And right now I have about 4 different presentations on there that are completely free for anybody to watch once you join. Eventually I will be having some videos. So all those exercises in the book, I am going to be doing demonstration videos. And I will have them in a package that you can purchase as well. And that's especially for those that are visual learners. I thought that would be beneficial for some people too. And then eventually I will have a course on there that will follow this book. I am on TikTok right now, and I do training and herbalism series there. That is at Simple Training Herbalist. I am on Instagram at Ancestral Herbology. I am on Facebook for those of you that are still on Facebook, and that's Mary Colvin Clinical Herbalist. I am the host of Herbology Talk podcast. So if you are learning herbalism, this is a great podcast for you. I talk to different teachers and schools and other students, and we talk about the highs and the lows of training, and there's a lot of great information in there. And it's a community that we're building as well. So there is another Herbology Talk quarterly meetup that you can join for free. And there we meet in a meeting once every quarter. And I just answer your questions, or, you can talk to other students and feel supported that way.
You've got a lot of fingers in a lot of pies, huh?
I do.
Herbal pies.
I do. Yeah, and I do write some articles for Plant Healer magazine as well. So if somebody wants to get that, they do have a free herbaria, and I like that because, who doesn't like something for free? So you can go to Plant Healer magazine, I think it's .org, and you can look up how to sign up for that too. But I'm in the Plant Healer Quarterly, which is, I think, $69 a year that you can get, and a lot of great articles in there too.
Yeah, I only poked over to one of the websites. I didn't get to the other one, but, there's just so much there. You can sit
There's
there
a
and
lot of information in the resources that I put in the book too that you could take your time and research those. Herbalist is another one that has a lot of great resources for you. So you could check out the different resources.
Mm-hmm. So in your opinion, anybody can be an herbalist if they want to.
Absolutely. If you take the time, you have the determination, sure you can.
And, so I guess some people can, you have to learn the right ways and the wrong ways, but, you don't have to go and get a master's degree in it, No,
you don't. And you don't, there's no in the U.S., there's no licensing, and you don't have to be certified either. I am a registered herbalist with the American Herbalist Guild, and that is all about clinical herbalism, and you have to hit so many of their standards there to be able to apply and be accepted. But you could be a clinical herbalist and not have to go for that too. I did that just so my clients would feel like I had the education, so I did that really for my clients, but you don't have to, but you can study at home and be, a very good herbalist. Mm-hmm. It just takes some time. You can't expect to do it right away. It's going to take some time and some training.
Yeah.
And
so
if somebody wants to meet me in person, I'm at different herbal conferences around. I'll be at the Midwest Women's Herbal Conference up in Almond, Wisconsin, the 23rd through the 26th. I know they're sold out, but they do have some of their intensives that are still available, I believe. Great Lakes Herb Fair up in Chelsea, Michigan. I will be teaching there and holding a plant walk. And I am going to be at the American Herbalist Guild Symposium in North Carolina in October as well. Oh, yeah, and the Good Medicine Confluence. I'll be there in July in Colorado.
You're all over the place.
I'm all over the place right now.
No, that's always a good place to be, all over the place, because it's never a dull moment, right?
Right. And I'm so happy that you did enjoy the book, and thank you so much for reading that.
Well, I'm glad that I got it. And, I'm very happy with it. And I've got it there, so I can be poking around every so often and start to get smart, or smarter, maybe.
Knowledgeable.
Got to be really careful about that. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. It was really fun and good and interesting. And come back sometime. You're always welcome.
I appreciate that, and I'd love that. Thank you so much, Marla.
All right, and thank you also for all the listeners as well. And until next time, everybody, blessed be, and merry meet again. Good night.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Please join us again next week at the same time for another great guest and more cauldron stirring. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2024. The Mysterioso March by Kevin MacLeod is licensed through Incompetech.com.